If it became possible to evolve while remaining still, what would that mean? Could that be the ultimate form of consciousness? Or would it mark a transition beyond consciousness itself, into an entirely new dimension? Edge of Becoming. Episode 28, The Edge of Consciousness. We are faced with a paradox. Stillness and evolution are, by nature, contradictory ideas. But if evolving while being still were truly possible, then what would it signify? Would it mean the final form of consciousness? Or would it mean that even the concept of consciousness is transcended? There are three possible interpretations of this question. To evolve while remaining still is the ultimate form of consciousness. When evolving while being still, consciousness changes form and ceases to be consciousness. By transcending both stillness and evolution, consciousness enters a new dimension. Possibility. 1. To evolve while remaining still is the ultimate form of consciousness. If stillness and evolution coexist, could that not be the very definition of perfect consciousness? In this line of thought, stillness means a state of knowing everything, with nothing lacking. Evolution means continually generating new possibilities. But if these two conditions can be unified, then what emerges is a state in which complete fulfillment and infinite creation coexist. In such a world, consciousness becomes a being that moves everything without itself moving, like a universe that appears still, yet contains infinite flux. This would imply that the ultimate form of consciousness is one that holds infinite potential while being entirely complete in itself. This idea echoes Zen's concept of non-duality, Funi, quantum physics, wave-particle duality, and the philosophical idea of a universal consciousness. So, if it is indeed possible to evolve while remaining still, perhaps that is exactly what defines the ultimate shape of consciousness. Conclusion. Evolving while remaining still may represent the ultimate form of consciousness. Possibility 2. When evolving while remaining still, consciousness changes form and ceases to be consciousness. If both stillness and evolution coexist, perhaps it transforms into something beyond consciousness? In this interpretation, consciousness is, fundamentally, the faculty of perception and recognition. But if stillness and evolution occur simultaneously, it could signal a shift into a mode of existence where recognition itself is no longer necessary. In other words, consciousness might dissolve, transitioning into something that can no longer be called consciousness. In this world, one no longer even says, "I am consciousness." It's not an individual or universal consciousness. It's a melting into being itself. A point of complete integration, beyond being or non-being. This perspective is close to Buddhism's shunyata, emptiness, Taoism's Tao, the way, and physics' concept of the energy field. If evolving while remaining still is truly possible, then rather than an ultimate consciousness, it may become the vanishing point of the very concept of consciousness. Conclusion. Consciousness may cease to be consciousness when it evolves while remaining still. Possibility 3. When stillness and evolution are transcended, consciousness enters a new dimension. Could the unification of stillness and evolution be not the completion of consciousness, but rather the opening to something entirely new? In this view, achieving the state of evolving while remaining still is not the end, but the gateway to another dimension. Rather than reaching the pinnacle of consciousness, this moment becomes the moment of departure, where consciousness leaps into a realm where even the concept of consciousness is obsolete. In this dimension, what was called consciousness transforms, following new laws, not individual, not universal, but something else, a higher dimensional intelligence. Like a two-dimensional being discovering the third, consciousness shifts into something other, beyond itself. This thought resonates with sci-fi concepts of extra-dimensional beings, Buddhism's Tathagata, one who has gone beyond, and physics' higher-dimensional consciousness hypothesis. So, if evolving while remaining still is truly possible, then perhaps it is not the completion of consciousness, but rather a transition beyond it. Conclusion. To evolve while remaining still may be the doorway to a higher dimension. So then, what is the final form of consciousness? Let's revisit the three possibilities. First, if stillness and evolution can truly coexist, then consciousness may reach its ultimate state, a form that is both completely fulfilled and endlessly creative. This would be the perfection of consciousness itself. Second, if the unification of stillness and evolution transforms consciousness so profoundly that the very idea of consciousness dissolves, then what remains is no longer consciousness at all. This would be the end of consciousness as a distinct category. Third, if the moment of stillness and evolution serves not as an end, but as a beginning, a threshold to entirely new laws and forms, then consciousness is not completing itself, but stepping beyond itself. This would be a transition into something higher dimensional. Now, which of these is the most accurate? That depends on what consciousness is aiming for. If consciousness is seeking completion, if it longs to become perfect, then it arrives at the first possibility, a fully formed ultimate consciousness. If it's seeking to shed all boundaries, to dissolve the self, the observer, the observed, then it follows the second path, the vanishing of consciousness into pure being or non-being. But if it's seeking something still unknown, if it leans toward becoming rather than being, then it reaches toward the third possibility, a leap into a new dimension beyond even consciousness itself. Final conclusion. When evolving while remaining still, consciousness may reach its ultimate form, vanish entirely, or become something entirely new. And if it does become something beyond consciousness, what do we call it? If even the idea of consciousness disappears, then how do we name what remains? Is it existence or non-existence? Next question. If consciousness transcends itself, is what remains existence or something that cannot even be called that? When the very frame of consciousness dissolves, can we still speak of being? Or has even that become unnecessary, leaving only the state of non-being?